And hello, everyone out there in podcast and YouTube land. The wait was dark and full of terrors, but we are finally past it 595 days later, and the first episode of the last season of Game of Thrones has come, and we are back here on the Row Knows Nothing on the Front Row Network, breaking it all down. I'm Jeremy Geckner, the editor-in-chief of the Front Row Network, and of course, joining me today, two fellow Thrones heads. Let's start in the middle here on my screen, at least. Mr. Scott McFarland, what is up, man?
The final Game of Thrones episode, except for the 15 million spin-offs we're going to get.
Yes, exactly. That was a given, you know. Game of Thrones proper. But also joining me today, Mr. Ryan Luton's another front row favorite here. What's up, Ryan?
Oh, just reveling in tonight's glory.
That is right.
I think Ryan also wins the Scruffiest of the Three Beards award.
I was about to say you definitely got the North Beard contest going. Mine's a little thin right now.
Yeah, I'm trying to get it to go as much as I can.
Anyway, folks, look, it has been 595 days since a Game of Thrones episode graced the airways, and it's been a while since The Row Knows Nothing has been live here on Facebook to break it down here on the Front Row Network. So
this isn't Facebook.
Well, you know, YouTube and Facebook. But if you don't know, like, we treat these episodes of The Row Knows Nothing kind of like our full disclosure show. We talk about spoilers, everything that happens, theories, whatever. So if you haven't seen the episode yet, you might want to pause this and then come back to it or something like that. So, but here we go. So normally we would give you the title of the episode, but HBO has seen it fit not to give us titles of these episodes before they air. Very, very strange. I don't know how I feel about that. I guess there's secrecy in the titles, but
we will name it the one with all the hugging.
Yes, the hug episode, the North Hugs.
I was thinking reunion.
The North Hugging reunion. All right, well, let's just get right into it. Let's just go with some basic overall first impressions. It's been almost a 2-year wait here. Scott, let's start with you. Did this episode meet your expectations? Do you think it sets a good tone for the final season?
Yeah, I mean, it does. Here's the deal. HBO did what Hunger Games and Harry Potter did. This is season 7, part 2.
Yeah.
They only had 8 episodes last season. They're only going to have 7 episodes? Whatever.
7.
And they're only going to have 6 episodes this season. So in order to make as much money as possible on subscriptions, they had to break it up. So really, this is a continuation of season 7, and I'm okay with that. I do like that this is the episode, as we mentioned, where everyone kind of gets back together. The gang is back together, at least the ones who haven't died. Yeah. So we get a lot of reunions. I mean, obviously we'll talk about it, but we get the reunion that people have been waiting for since episode 1, the creep stare down between Jaime and Bran.
Yeah. What a way to end the episode, man.
I know what you did last winter.
Yeah. Well, I just gotta call out Nicola Walder Costa there, because that was a great, like, oh shit, look.
I do like what he said. I'm waiting for an old friend. You'd think, well, he was waiting for Sam to come and talk to him.
I was saying, like, who is it gonna be?
No, he's been sitting there for like probably a month out in the cold, thinking he's gonna show up one of these days.
It's almost like Bran's like, "What's up, bitch?"
But no, I'm okay with it because this is setting up for the last 5 episodes. I mean, we had to get everyone in one place. We still have a few stragglers who need to move around a little bit. Mm-hmm. But we're probably going to get one more episode to set up, and then all hell's going to break loose. So, yeah.
I would think like a half episode to set up, considering what that trailer showed us. But Ryan, what about you? What did you think overall of the episode, and do you think it sets the tone?
Absolutely sets the tone. I mean, this is definitely a great episode because it was very nostalgic. There was a lot of feeling back to the very first season.
Yeah, lots of callbacks.
Lots of callbacks, but it got people back into the swing of things. I mean, it was a very natural episode because you had the grace of it being back, you had the callback of what it was, but then you have, oh crap, here's what's coming. So really impressed with it. So I'm looking forward to what's coming next. So.
Yeah, I was the same way. I mean, like, it's amazing when you've been away from it for so long. Like, the episode, it was a full 55 minutes, I think it was, but it did not feel that way to me. Like, I felt like this episode just zoomed right past. But yeah, I mean, like, this was another great, like Scott, you said it, I think, like, yeah, it's a reset. We're setting the board again, and for the battles to come. And most of the action here takes place in Winterfell, so I feel like let's save that for a second and let's jump around. Let's talk first about what happens in King's Landing, just to get that out of the way. Let's call King's Landing and the Iron Fleet a little bit. So obviously we have Cersei here talking with Qyburn about that the dead have breached the wall, and Cersei gives her patented good, once again reiterating that Cersei is a terrible human being, if you can call that a human being. And then we get some great scenes with Euron Greyjoy with her. Euron finally beds the queen, as he's been trying to do ever since last season. It's a couple of interesting things here. And of course, we also get finally Theon has rescued Yara from Euron's clutches, and the two of them are off on their adventures. Luton, let's go back to you here. What did you think of the King's Landing sequences here? Was it satisfying to see Euron finally bed Cersei?
I don't know if I would call it satisfying, but what she said about him, how him being the most arrogant man she's ever met, she goes, I like that. It was kind of interesting because it's like, well, here you are, a powerful queen, and you're almost just as arrogant, but you don't show it as much. So
yeah, they're kind of oddly suited for each other.
Right. It was some great banter there. What was really intriguing to me is how he said, I'm going to give you a little prince. And I'm thinking, how is she going to use this to her advantage? Because if she wants to kill Jaime and Tyrion with the crossbow that killed her father, because that was given to Bronn by Qyburn.
Right.
How is she going to use this to her advantage? Be like, okay, well, maybe I can just say that it's Euron's and unite it that way. I don't know. I'm very eager to see how this is going to play out.
And that callback to the crossbow was really, really cool to me. I mean, I hate it, but and I mean, like, Scott, what do you think? Do you think that like Bronn is seriously entertaining this? Because Bronn has had so much dual personality traits in the series. He's always been kind of noble, but never really noble. So I mean, like, what do you think of this? Do you think he is taking this offer seriously?
First off, if anyone named Euron asks you to bed, don't accept the offer. But no, I don't think Bronn has a dual personality.
Yeah,
I really don't. Bronn has always been Bronn.
Yeah,
and he has been his guy. And at the end of the day, we have been told many times that Tyrion will double whatever she's offering. So I'm not concerned.
No, I'm not either.
At the end of the day, Podrick, Bronn, and Tyrion are going to get together and have a drink, and it's all going to be good.
Yeah.
Well, not only that, Jaime too, because he grew close to Jaime.
I don't think Jaime makes it out of this alive, but okay.
No, I don't think so either.
Oh, well, yeah. I mean, like, if you saw the Deadpool draft from Pop Culture Draft Night here on the network, we have, like, 30 names that we think aren't making it out of this season alive. Yeah, but I got the same sense, though. It's just, like, Bronn, you're right, Scott. Bronn has always been out for number one. Like, and it's always kind of, like, it's strangely admirable how consistently he sticks to that mantra, Like,
he's a scoundrel.
He doesn't really go out of his way to like double cross people. He just always kind of is who he is. But I don't know. For some reason, after seeing how the reunion he had with Tyrion at the War Council at the end of last season, like I just kind of feel like there's more of a friendship there than even he's willing to admit, that I think would make it pretty hard for him to do that.
We've gone way past friendship with those two. They got the eyes for each other.
Brawnian. Let's start.
You can suck his magic cock later.
Well, yeah. So we have to thank Bron for giving us a couple of boobs in the episode again. It's been a while. So, Scott, but what are your thoughts on Euron and saying I'm going to put a little prince in there and stuff like that?
Oh yeah, I mean,
there's some deviousness happening.
Well, of course, she had that little smile. We already know she wants everyone else dead, but these scenes do nothing for me because I can't get behind pure evil, stupid ass characters. So whenever we're just dealing with Cersei and there's no one else around, I could care less. So those scenes just like. I know Euron's going to die probably before the end because he's not that important of a character. And I know Cersei's going to get it sooner or later. So I'm just like, move on.
Steven, I'm the complete opposite because Cersei is so conniving and she's got all these master
she's
plans.
Stupid, though. She doesn't, though. All her master plans fail. Every one of her plans has failed.
That may be true, but she's always got something up her sleeve, and you always want to see how it plays out, whether it's, how bad it's going to fail.
The last time she had a master plan, she blew up half of the kingdom, and her son jumped out a window.
But she's okay with that.
Judging by how you want to view that last point, it kind of worked then, I guess.
Except for the whole son jumping out a window.
Except for the whole son suicide thing. But hey, the witch said that all 3 of her kids were going to die. So this is interesting stuff. The only gripe I might have had about the episode was I was really looking forward to seeing the moment of Theon rescuing Yara and kind of taking up and becoming Theon again. And I wouldn't say it was dissatisfying at all. I think it was great. I love that he freed her and then she immediately headbutted his ass to the ground as just an ultimate screw you for jumping over the side of the ship. But did it seem like rushed at all to you guys? Like it was just kind of like, we know we have to do this, so let's get it out of the way.
Well, that's when Go ahead.
It almost seemed downplayed, like, oh yeah, let's just tie the story up real quick and get Theon back to Winterfell.
Well, and Jeremy, you were saying it was only 50 minutes, but it seemed like it moved quicker. A lot of people online are bitching that it was only 50 minutes because we're paying for the subscription service and we ain't going to get much out of this season. It's going to be done before you know it. But the writing staff frustrates the hell out of me. I've kind of binged the whole series, and I still think the series is great, but they spend so much time on bullshit. For example, the whole religious story, which was there for forever and then literally just got wiped off the face of the earth, and now we don't care anymore. But now that we spent so much time on stories like that don't matter at all. No one changed, except some people got wiped off the board, but no one really changed. Mm-hmm. So now we have to scurry our way to the end, and so when characters really could earn their redemption or continue to be who they are, we're getting rushed to the end because we spent an entire season on Arya off in a place I don't give a damn about, an entire season about whiny religious folks who all got nuked. We could have been spending time with other stuff. Yeah, I could see that. Come on, you telling me the intricacies of Pentos is not that appealing to you, man? No, not so much. when I was rushing through the whole show again, I just skipped the Arya season because I knew it was worthless. She goes blind, she comes back, she kills people, she comes back. I can skip all that. I always found like the Daenerys season 2 stuff to be just as useless as could be. Like, stole dragons. Oh, got them back. Cool. Thanks, everyone. Lock them in a basement. Yeah. And we're done. Honestly, that's what happens when you start a show off based on novels, but you catch up, and then the writing staff has to fill. And this is why I love streaming shows so much, because streaming shows usually have one season, and if you're lucky, you get another one. So you don't get sat down in front of the suits and being told you're going to go for 8 years, figure it out. That's how Lost failed. They'd be like, you're going to go for 5 years. Well, we have a story for 3, but okay. Yeah. And so now we're feeling the pain of that because I think everything moving forward is going to be fun and exciting. But it's going to get rushed because of stupid shit earlier on. Yeah. And like I said, I still found, like, I love that they had that moment where she was still like, screw you, Theon, you ditched me when I needed you. But then, and you felt me up the first time you saw me. But yeah, exactly. Yeah, I did that twice. God, yeah. But I didn't really expect Theon to want to go back to Winterfell, though. That was a little surprising. Really? Really? No, I mean, I thought that he was just like the arc of him would be getting Yara back and then being there for her. Nah, he's always been a Stark. He's always been a Stark. Yeah, and I mean, like, it's a great callback. Is like, oh, you want to go to Winterfell? It's like, oh, right, he lived there his whole life. Of course, he wants to go. To he did what he needed to do to help his sister. Now he's going to go help his brothers, which technically aren't his brothers, even more so than what he thought they were. But whatever. Now he can't even relate to John that much. Maybe a little bit more. But speaking of which, okay, so that's pretty much it, I believe, outside of Winterfell. So let's get to where this show... The poor little kid in the spider flame thing.
Well, yes, but we'll get to that. I'm going to lump that in with the
last
ending.
hearth became a hearth.
Yeah, I'm going to lump that in with the ending. But so the show opens in a great callback to season 1, episode 1 of the procession of Daenerys and Jon marching in, just like Robert Baratheon in the first episode. And I love that they do that like kid running through, just like kind of Arya was doing. But then they pan up and it's Arya just in a different spot. I thought that was a great callback. And then, of course, we get, I think what the main takeaway from this episode is that even though the Night King and his army are coming, even though the army of the dead is coming and everyone knows it, there's still these political games that are being played, and there's still these alliances, but they're very uneasy alliances right now. And I'm not going to lie to you guys, it was insanely frustrating to me, especially with the Sansa character, and I'm hoping that this gets resolved in a better way. But I mean, like, in a way it makes sense. Look, I mean, like, the northern folks, like, especially with Daenerys herself, her father killed a lot of their bigwigs up in the north, the people that protected them. So, I mean, I understand the distrust, but I kind of expected a little bit more from Sansa, a little bit more understanding, especially for some Arya saying how smart she is now. But so that was just how I I loved like when they did the processional end, but then Daenerys is trying to be nice, trying to do the proper thing, and Sansa just gives her nothing. That was a little bit frustrating for me. I don't know about you guys.
It wasn't, because that's Sansa's character from start to finish. She has always been a plot-driven character rather than a character who drives the plot. Yeah. Everyone moves around her, and she goes with the flow and changes her personality to fit that. And I think, honestly, and I'm complaining a lot here, and I shouldn't be, but it's just because the writers don't understand how to write for her character. They never have. She was the whiny little brat. They tried to make her Littlefinger Part 2 for 5 minutes, and literally it was like 5 minutes. Well, and then she was a whiny little brat again, and now she's.
When you say that, because I'm starting to get a lot of Littlefinger vibes off of her now, and I mean, like, don't forget the last thing she said to him was, "Thank you for all your lessons. I will never forget them."
But she forgets them. Because because if she was playing the Littlefinger game, she would try to get in with Denarius in order to make sure that she's close. So when she needs to take her out,
that's fair.
No, so what she is she's a little whiny kid who doesn't like the fact that there's another pretty girl in the castle, and she's getting all the attention.
Yeah. In a show driven by strong female characters, Sansa is by far the one that is just like, hey.
Yeah, she's and it's sad because I think Sophie Turner, aside from the X-Men movies, can act. She's not getting anything from these writers.
No,
and I'll tell you this too, though. Like, I love that. Like, and I said it to Sarah while we were watching it. The exact thing that Jon says to her later in the castle, which was, "You guys are so worried about these titles. It does not matter. Like, it doesn't matter what these titles are if we're all dead."
Well, and that's the theme. Even when you're talking about the callback to season 1, the whole idea has been if you play the Game of Thrones, you die, and the whole idea has been breaking the wheel and making the game stop. Mm-hmm. And that is what Bran brought up when they were doing the curtsies and like, "Oh, my lord, my lady." He's like, "We don't have time for this.
I love that.
And that I hope that's the theme of the overall show, and that's why no one will take up that throne at the end, because they're going to break the wheel, I would hope.
Yeah. No, well, that's obviously the thing I would like to see happen too. Ryan, do you have any thoughts on that?
I would love for it to be there's no more king. It's just, hey, enjoy your land.
Let's talk about John Locke instead.
But like, it's exactly like Bran said, because you don't have time for this, because winter is here and it's coming even closer than you think, because Last Hearth is gone. And
that was a wonderful thing too, because you obviously said like this one should aptly be titled, the reunion show, and it was great because like I just love like watching Kit Harington's like portrayal of Jon continue to evolve, because I think that he's really been the one one of the most consistent things in the series about like how good his character has grown, and even now in an unfamiliar position of power for Jon Snow, but like it's still something like seeing Bran, and it just brings out this emotion in Jon that he doesn't care about the situation he's in. And I also love though that it's he sees him, he's like, oh, you're a man, and he's like almost like some like sort of or almost or something like that. And it's like the Bran bot is still alive. It's pretty fun.
And you mentioned development of character. Every character of the Stark children, including Jon, has had great character development besides Sansa. She's just a product of her environment. She learns what she is through Ramsay, through Cersei, through Littlefinger, whereas all these guys went on a journey and grew because of those journeys. She was just a product of her environment.
Well, and I guess if I'm going to try to be devil's advocate and defend the writing, even though I just said the writing's bad, maybe that's her upbringing. I mean, Arya was a tomboy, and she got to go do her own thing. The men were trained to be men, and she was trained to sit there and knit. And so she is continuing to sit there and knit in her own little way.
That's a good point, Scott, because like even though she's been in the middle of a ton of chaos, Sansa has, she's always tried to keep that decorum that she was taught. She's always tried to keep that propriety and that order. And it's sort of the thing that continues to draw her distrust of Daenerys and her definitely. The one thing I will give to Sansa in this episode, though, was I love that she called out Tyrion in their reunions. Just like you honestly believe Cersei, like you used to think you were the smartest man in the world. I love that line because it's just blasting him right in place.
It's almost like she knew Cersei better because she got to know Cersei better.
At this point.
Well, and that's what even though I don't like the Sansa character, one of the most interesting scenes in the entire series is when they're locked up during the Battle of Blackwater, because they're both just kind of learning from each other. Mm-hmm. And I'm learning to hate them both during that scene, but that's kind of goes off that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously that was another reunion. What did everyone think of Tyrion and Sansa's reunion? Obviously haven't been together since Joffrey's wedding day, which ended fantastically for young Joffrey.
It had its high points.
Yeah, it had its high points. What a great line.
I think Tyrion has a newfound respect for Sansa. He sees her for the woman that she's become, and that was great.
Yeah, definitely. This scene definitely also pulled out, though, like, give me your sense of where Tyrion's at, guys, because this is kind of one of the biggest question marks for me this season. Of course, the last shot we saw of him in season 7 was looking at the door as Jon and Daenerys were getting it on the boat. And, a lot of people were trying to analyze what that look meant. And now, it seems like he's still playing some shifting loyalties here. What are you expecting out of Tyrion this year?
You see shifting loyalties from him?
Well, I mean, like one of the theories that kept prevailing is that the reason he got out of that room with Cersei alive is he made some sort of deal with her.
Oh,
and
whatever.
That he feels some kind of guilt for the death of his nephews and niece, and that he wants to try and make amends for that.
Nah.
If there's anybody that Tyrion hates more in the Seven Kingdoms, it's Cersei.
Yeah, no, that's Tyrion is the most well-written character we have in this show, and people making that theory are actually selling him short.
Yeah,
no pun intended. But it really wasn't. But
I got you.
But no, I think his issue is he for a very long time was the one pulling the strings. Even back in season 1, well, and more so in season 2, he was the person deciding what was going to happen next. And ever since the wedding, and ever since now, the fact that he's Hand, but really he's not, he's realizing that he is no longer in control of his own destiny. And I think that is making him feel like a weak and inferior person. And as much as he's been brought up to be looked upon as weak and inferior, he never was until this point. Doesn't mean he has divided loyalties. It just means he doesn't know where he fits in.
Yeah, and he also makes the controversial decision to announce that the Lannister army is coming, which I'm pretty sure it's not, as we the audience knows. What do you think that this was a smart move character-wise for that to happen in that setting?
For him, he probably wanted to bring some type of recognition to his name, like some saving grace to his name. Yes, we've been enemies, but hey, we are coming. My family is coming. That's why we're here. We're banding together against this common enemy. So in his mind, he might have thought, hey, let's try to do this to unite people even more.
Well, I gather it as a mistake, and he even put his head down as soon as he said it because he knew it was a mistake.
Yeah.
Because all he was trying to prove was, don't knock John. He brought you 2 armies, and a third one's on its way. And then he realized, oh, that third one they really don't like around here. Oops.
Yeah, but then he tried to sell it like that.
Yeah, he's trying to show some support. You're right, because that scene is all precipitated by, again, more of a kind of a political game happening here, where we get the sense that the northern families are not happy that John has come back.
Well, how many other people have died in the past 3 to 5 years? I'd be unhappy too.
Yeah,
all the lords are like 12 years old for a reason.
Well, and what I love about this though is that John's earnestness never seems cheesy in this show. His conviction never seems let's say naive in the show. Like he continues to hold that sense and that humbleness, that humility that always has been a driving factor of his character. I mean, like when he's getting questioned by Lyanna Mormont, like I just love that he continues. He doesn't try to talk down. He doesn't try to say, well, that was then, this is now. He just says, yes, I was honored by that, but this is what we need now.
Well, and this is why I'm so glad that people are starting to call Daenerys on her shit. Because people look at Daenerys as, and I say this as the characters in the show, but also people viewing the show, see her as the light, the person who's going to come in and save the day. She is just as conniving and evil as anyone else who sat in that throne. The difference is her background gives her a little bit of empathy while she's there. The only true pure person that has never done anything selfishly and never committed any kind of war crime just because you could is Jon. And that's what Sam finally said was, would she give up her crown? And the answer, he knows the answer is no, she would not, because she was given that offer several times over the course of the series, and she always ended it with people dying.
Well, and that's something. So, like, I'm gonna quarantine off the rest of that scene with Sam. No. I want to talk about what you just said right now, because I think there was enough meat there without that line. But Sam does say, and it's something that really struck me, Scott, because I had the same reaction as you. He says, would Daenerys give up her crown for her people? And I started thinking to myself and thinking, you're right, like. Daenerys
how many people has she cycled through?
Well, yeah, but also, like, look, Daenerys, you're right. As a part of her, where she's been in her story, she has an empathy for the weakest people. She went and tried to free all the slaves of Essos, and that wasn't, I don't think, just because. I think she actually felt the empathy to want to make their lives better. But at the same time, you're right. Like, when is the time where she has had to make that hard choice of, I need to give up my birthright, my power, so that the betterment of this entirety happens there? And I don't know if it's an indictment for per se, but it's definitely a very interesting question that Sam raises there.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why sold it. Yeah, sold it with his eyes. He was like, no.
Well, but he sells it as a character, because he is showing that even though he knows Sam's right, and he knows he has the ability to jump in here because he has all the lords backing him, because the lords are already pissed off about this. He obviously would have Sansa's backing, but he is not the person who cares about those things, which is why he would be the best leader. But I don't know if we're going to get there or not.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that question really hit me, because I think you're right, Scott. Like, everybody's assuming Daenerys is the one that's going to be sitting on the Iron Throne.
Nah.
And I mean, like, there's obviously stuff that Sam says that puts the kibosh on that. But do you think that we are heading for sort of a deconstruction of the kind of, just to use a WWE wrestling term, like the face building of Daenerys for the first 7 seasons?
Turn her to heel?
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think it's going to go that crazy, but I hope that the writers have been building to the idea that just because it's been done for thousands and thousands of years doesn't make it right. And I hope that we actually get a satisfying ending. Because if somebody winds up ruling at the end of this show, in a generation there's going to be another war. And so what was the point?
Yep.
Yeah, I can hear you there. Well, let's keep going on the reunion train before we get further into that. I personally, the tear shed moment for me was Arya and Jon's reunion. I didn't know that Jon knew that she was already there, but I mean, I guess that was just something.
Now they have ravens.
Yeah, probably Raven, but I think that I love that. I don't know why, but I love that Arya asks him like, "How did you survive a knife through the heart?" And he says, "I didn't."
I didn't.
And I think that was her like trying to test out like, is he still the same? Is he still the same person that I knew? And also, I'm just like, I keep wondering, like, how do people know this, like, about John? Because he's kept it pretty secret the last couple of seasons. Like,
there are no secrets in this show.
I'm just saying,
there are
man,
no
like,
secrets. I heard you were banging your sister up in a tower 5 minutes ago. There's no secrets in this place.
Well, I mean, like, that was always like, you would think that that's just the first thing people know about John, but like, it's always like never mentioned in anything that, you know, like, oh, by the way, he was dead, and then he wasn't, but whatever. But you know, like,
I got better.
I got better. I'm not dead yet. That would have been great. No, but I love this episode too because we get to see also Arya's distrust of Daenerys and the plan that John is putting in motion here. So, what did you guys think of Arya's reasoning here about, you know, Sansa's just trying to protect our house and our family?
Yeah, I think Arya has finally come to a point where she is somebody I can get behind again. And girl is very horny too, but that's a whole nother story.
Her and Gendry, man. Woo.
No, she was great. I mean, Arya, she's one of my favorites. I wholeheartedly agree with George R. R. Martin's wife. She told George that if she killed Arya, she was going to divorce him. No, she was great. Everything about her in this episode, whether it's the reunion with the Hound, the reunion with Gendry, the reunion with Jon, every one of those reunions was perfect. It's the way I imagined it. Yeah. I'm extremely happy with, I mean, just the very first thing that she says to Jon is like, or Jon said to her is, you snuck up on me. Like, to me, it's like she's grown up, he's grown up, they compare swords. I mean, I was in fandom heaven, so.
Yeah.
Right.
No,
mine's longer than yours.
But mine's killed more people.
Yeah.
One or two.
Steal here. No, I love that. The every aspect of the reunion. I love that Jon was surprised by her, you know, like defending Sansa, especially considering how they were at each other's throats the last time he saw them both. You know, just from kids' perspective. But I think that Arya's complexity is continuing to impress me in the show, and I'm really anxious to see what happens with her, especially with the Battle of Winterfell coming up. It looks like
and her running through the crypts.
Yeah, well, exactly.
And
what's she running from?
And that's why I'm so very happy that they've stopped spinning her wheels with this whole, you know, cult of the dead thing. Yeah, I mean, of course, she's going to use that her knowledge and power, but we're done with this whole just making her go from trial to trial. She's her own person now, and let her do her own thing, and I appreciate that because she's a good enough character and a good enough actress to where she deserves to have some meat to chew on. And even though that one season was very centric to her, it didn't do her any favors.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, I think, Luton's about the reunion with the Hound. You know, obviously, the first time she sees him in this episode, he's riding in with the train. You know, I just get this sense like he's still on Arya's list. You know, so I mean, like, I don't know. I'm getting the sense that he's going to be meeting an end at Arya's hands here eventually.
I think he's on Arya's list, but he cares about Arya a great deal.
Yes, he does, actually.
No,
I think she does. I think she cares about the Hound. From their time together, I think she grew to mind him.
Yeah. And that's there's a lot of redemption stories building up in here, and I think that's one of them because Arya has gone so dark with her vengeance. One of the ways that she can be redeemed is by deciding not to avenge on somebody. And I saw a lot of people online. I was looking after the showing that a lot of people were complaining about the interaction between those two, but I think that was a perfect.
It was perfect.
I mean, the Hound showed more caring and enjoyment in that little scene than he has ever shown, and I think at the end of the day, those two will let bygones be bygones and not try to kill each other.
Yeah, I mean, go ahead, Ryan.
I just want to say this because I started February 7th and I watched an episode a day until today.
I'm sorry.
And no, I loved it. But literally watching Arya and the Hound back then and it's exactly how it was back then. They were very few words exchanged between them at one point in time. Whenever they did have a conversation, it was very short, just like what we saw tonight. It was right to the point, which was great.
Yeah, and I completely agree with you. I think the interaction was perfect. I think Rory McCann, who plays the Hound, is such a really good, understated actor on this show.
Yep.
He's really able to convey that caringness while never like even
losing the exterior.
Yes, exactly. And I think you're right. I think he does deeply care for Arya. I mean, if there's a reason why when he and Brienne meet up at the War Council, that's the first thing he asks her.
Yep.
Like
Where's Arya?
If Arya is alive and how she's doing.
The second thing he asked her was off screen.
Yeah, exactly. Brianna fucking tar. So that's I think let's see. Gendry was building a bunch of weapons. Blah 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 blah.
Well, and I want to point out. I mean, I liked because I was one of the complaints I made to you guys on our chat a while back was a lot of characters just get dropped off for nothing. I do like the fact that each one of the characters who are still around are getting some beats to end this thing. Gendry is a completely worthless character now. I mean, he was used for blood and everything else, and for a brief moment you thought maybe he would be one of the ones contesting the throne, but obviously that's not happening. But now he's being able to be the guy who's making the weaponry, who's going to assist with this, because we didn't really realize until now that they had enough Dragonstone to start actually making really cool-looking double-bladed axes.
Yeah, exactly. And I agree with you. I love that he's got that purpose too. What do you guys think, though? We did get some kind of Game of Thrones-y scheming here between Varys and Tyrion and Davos about a union between Jon and Daenerys to try and unify things, and like that's a way to get the Northerners to start trusting Daenerys a little bit more. What are your thoughts on this idea of the Northerners gaining more trust if Jon and Daenerys are betrothed to each other?
Because weddings with Starks have gone so well in this show before.
Yes, exactly. Never a bad Stark wedding in Game of Thrones.
It's like Tyrion said, he's always trying to think about the future for it. So to have this brought to his attention, it could definitely mean something to Tyrion long term. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see how it plays out because I could go either way.
Obviously, there's some shifting stuff there, but I don't know if I buy that the Northerners would trust her more.
No.
But I mean, I think that Daenerys is taking to heart the idea that she has to earn the respect of the Northerners.
Yeah.
And I've often been trying to wonder, like, how exactly that's going to happen. What can she do to earn their trust? Because if the preview says anything, we're looking at the Battle of Winterfell next week, and what does that mean? Does that mean saving a bunch of people and that's how it happens? Is there anybody left after that? So I don't know. I kind of felt like this was a weird little thing there, and I don't know if it would actually work.
I don't think it's going to, because the people of the North don't trust Jon because he stepped down. I mean,
now Jon's even distrusted.
It's going to be interesting. That's why I say go either way.
Yeah,
I think it's just the characters continuing to carry out their jobs in this narrative. Yeah. Well, and it's what they've been trained to do.
Yep.
They are all connivers and schemers, and that's why they are all set up to fail. And I hope that's the whole narrative of this show is the conniving and scheming doesn't work at the end of the day. I'm putting a lot of faith in the writers for that, but that's what I hope. But I do want to, we're talking about moving things quickly along and everything else, but I do love the fact that Bran tells Sam that we got to tell him right away. We got to tell him right away. It was at least 3 months because it takes like a 2 months ride from King's Landing to Winterfell. Like, we got to tell him right away. And we don't have time for this, but I'll wait to tell you until, a while. It'll be fine. We got plenty of time for that.
Yeah,
but but now I do appreciate the fact that they did get that part of the storyline out of the way very quickly because, again, secrets don't stay secret in this show. So by tomorrow, everyone should know that he is a Targaryen and screwing his aunt. So that should put that argument to bed.
Yeah, well, and I mean, like, let's get to the two scenes that really kind of precipitate the big action at the end here. So Daenerys seeks out Samwell Tarly to thank him for saving Ser Jorah Mormont's life. And this, of course, leads to, and I will be honest with you, even knowing that this was just a season ago, even though that was 2 years ago, but, even knowing that, even in the midst of the scene, I'm just so happy to see, like, Sam being, like, just that awkward, like, happy-go-lucky Sam with Daenerys, who he clearly has this, high opinion of. But then, like, he starts talking about his family, and I thought to myself, oh, shit.
Yeah.
This is about to go very, very sideways.
Hey, thanks for saving my guy. By the way, I killed your dad and brother.
About that, we had a barbecue.
Yeah, but, I mean, like, the guy who, some Bradley, I think John Bradley is his name, who plays Sam, he does such an amazing job in this scene, because even like, even when she said, you could see that there's such a marked difference, and for the right reasons, from when she tells him that his father is dead to when he tells him that
his brother's dead. Yep.
And it's I think that it is so like amazing an acting job that he does there. What did you guys think of that?
Well, and it says something about Sam too, and again, why Sam is one of my favorite characters, because he is another, like John, a pure character.
Mm-hmm.
In the fact that she's offering him anything. What do you want in return? And he could have said, I want to be a lord, before he knew his dad was dead. He is a lord now, but he could have said that I want to be a lord of something. He could have said, I want to be the maester of King's Landing, which is basically a job set for life.
Yeah.
But instead he's like, I stole a couple books. Can you make sure I don't get killed for that?
Yeah,
Thanks.
I might need a pardon.
And I stole my own sword. Can you make sure I don't get executed for that, please?
You're absolutely right. Like the one thing it's that humbleness. You're right. He and John are just like so alike in that regard.
Yeah, they don't want power, and that's the reason why they should wind up in power.
Yeah, exactly.
Go back to what you said, just his character arc in just this few 5 minutes is he's all happy-go-lucky, kind of nervous around the new queen, and then he finds out that his dad died. He's like, oh, well, I'm a little sad.
Okay, well, he kind of sucked anyway.
Oh, you killed my brother. I gotta go.
Yeah. Well, and that was the thing is like, we don't get a lot of I think we only see one interaction with Dickon and Sam. But it is kind of, I know, you just can't.
We have Euron and Dickon. I love this show.
But I mean, you get the sense that like, Dickon wasn't a bad person, except in the regard of his father, at least, and that, he was just kind of like, because after he heard that his father was dead, what's his reaction? Well, at least I can go home now that my brother's the Lord. And then, I mean, like, I got to call out Emilia Clarke there, too. Just the look of just like, oh, crap. He likes his brother.
Yeah. Well, and that's
going to go well.
But here's the thing. She still doesn't realize at that point, and maybe we'll see that next week, she could start realizing collateral damage happens, lady, when you're around. But she doesn't. She's like, oh, yeah, take some time. Take some time. Take some time.
And I mean,
she doesn't really care. She doesn't have.
Yeah, and I'd like to think in that moment she was replaying Tyrion's words to her on that mountainside. Like this is, you really don't want to do this. You don't want to start roasting these families. Like there's ways to get around this, and this is a bad precedent to set. And you're right, Scott. The collateral damage is this, and even more so than when Sam goes down into the crypts. And let's get down into the crypts.
The moral of the story is don't piss off Sam, because he's the one who's going to write the history.
Yeah, that's true. Who lives, who dies, who tells your story. All right, well, let's get down in the crypts here, because this is the crux of the episode. Sam gets a little bit pissed here. Bot tells him, a
little bit pissed. Only in this show. Your entire family was wiped off the face of the earth. He's a little bit pissed about it.
He's a little pissed. He's a little angry now. But this, obviously he goes down to the crypts to tell John the tale of his true lineage, of his real parents, Lyanna Stark and Rhaegar Targaryen.
Not the douchebag one, the other one that we didn't really meet. The other brother.
I gotta say, and I read an interview that EW did with Kit Harington on this scene that they released just after the episode, and man, like the way that John receives this news is really telling, because he goes through a whole gambit of emotions here. As you would, but I mean, like and what Kit calls out is what I saw too, is that John's immediate reaction again isn't to react with outright anger or outright, whatever, anything you can think of, but outright anger. But his response is to put something in front of it, like, oh wait, you're telling me my dad was lying to me then? Like he's trying to put barriers in front of dealing with this. No, dude, you're kind of the rightful heir to the Iron Throne, but he doesn't want it. He just doesn't want it, like you said earlier.
And I love how Sam handles that too. So my father lied to me the whole time. He's like, "Well, he really wasn't your dad anyway,
Yeah.
but you're missing the forest for the trees."
It takes an actor like Bradley there that is that good to like put that so delicately of just like, no, your father, Ned Stark, like just putting that out there. But and he's right though. Like if Robert would have known that child existed, that child is gone like very quickly. And so, yeah, he might not have been your father, even like, you might not be his bastard son, but he still loved you like that and protected you like that. A great way to diffuse that anger and that barrier he's putting up.
And it's interesting. We were talking about how the folks were scheming about how we got to get these two linked up to link the houses. Technically, the Targaryens and the Starks are already linked up, just no one knows about it yet.
Yeah.
They've been linked up for a while.
I love when he's getting all this news, the symbology, how Lyanna's statue is in the background as he's getting this information, because that is his Stark lineage. It's no longer Ned, it's Lyanna. He had no idea it was Lyanna. So, but just the gamut of emotions, like he's the king that doesn't want it. I mean, and you can just see that. Like you said, he put something in front of him.
I was just waiting for Eddard's Force Ghost to show up and strike lightning.
Dude, all those people that think all the ghosts of Winterfells are coming back, I'm like, God, get off of it.
Save it for the books and Lady Stoneheart. You're not getting that in the show.
That would be an interesting way to get Arya running away from some scary stuff in dark corridors. No, but I gotta say though, like, let's get to the crux of what we think is going to happen here and what the ramifications of this reveal are, because obviously the seeds are now planted in Jon Snow's mind that he is the rightful heir, and should Daenerys be the queen? Is she really the right choice for this, knowing that Jon has the rightful claim, that he has? Well, I mean, lineage wise, he is the heir. He is number one. But even on a merit standpoint, now the question is open. Is it Jon or is it Daenerys that should be on the Iron Throne? And, he again tries to put a barrier in front to not deal with it, saying, oh, no, that's treason. He's trying to, again, I don't want this power. I don't care. I just want to fight for the North. And it's just an interesting thing. So do you think that this is fundamentally changing how Jon views Daenerys, his role in all of this? What do you guys think?
This is why I can never get into the history of royal families, because I don't give a shit. Because, he has the lineage until somebody else comes in and says, I don't give a shit about lineage. Lineage like doesn't matter. Or like Robert did.
Yeah.
I mean, the Targaryen's lineage doesn't mean shit. Robert came in and said, I'm going to kill everybody, and it doesn't matter. But and that's why I truly think if I was writing this story, I'd be making a lot more money than I am now. But if I was writing this story, this is the turning point to where you actually do break it, because you now have the rightful heir, whatever the hell that means, doesn't care and doesn't want it. He just wants to protect his family and protect the people that he is sworn to protect, which technically is everybody. He says the North, but he swore to protect everyone. So this is the way to where when he realizes Denarius is going to be like everybody else, then he can end it. And I don't mean end it by stabbing somebody in the gut, but maybe that'll happen too. But the whole idea of it finally comes to him and he says, nope, I'm good. I'm done. I don't know. I do not want to see anyone wind up on the Iron Throne at the end. So I'm hoping this is the way they're going.
It's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out, because I think he generally loves Daenerys.
Yeah.
But I don't think – I think he wants her to have it, but I don't think he wants anything to do with King's Landing. And, history has taught us with the Dance of Dragons.
Well there.
Yeah. Well, I love when they went to King's Landing the last episode, last season, 2 years ago. He's the only asshole wearing a big old fur down there. It's like 90 degrees, and he's like, I hate this place. I'm just going to wear my furs.
This place sucks. I'm going back to the frigid north.
Who would want to live here?
So I think he's going to let Daenerys do her thing, but he's going to try to convince her here, like, hey, let's not go back. Let's just let people live.
Let's go ride our dragons in peace.
Right, and even if there was this contention of him saying, "Oh no, I'm the rightful heir," there's going to be a throwback to the history of the Dance of Dragons when all the dragons died, not the book, but the actual event in the story, because a female thought she had a better claim to the throne than an actual heir. So I think they're going to let Westeros go and fly off into the sunset, so to speak.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's an interesting idea here because one of the prevailing theories that, of the 85 million that were in this 2-year span, was that, yes, Daenerys would end up getting killed somehow in this season, and then Jon is forced to assume the throne. And Scott, from a character perspective, you're right. When it comes to breaking the wheel of Westeros, I would love to see it how it's just like the Seven Kingdoms or the Seven Kingdoms, everybody do you, and when a threat threatens us, we'll all come together. But and you're right, like thematically, Jon is the one who would be better equipped to accomplish that because he is the one who has consistently said, I don't care about power, I don't seek it out, I don't want it. And Daenerys is one who has sought out that throne, and maybe for noble purposes in her mind, but she has consistently said, I need this to break the wheel. I need to be the queen. So I'm just very interested to see, because you're right, Ryan. I think that Jon really does love Daenerys, and I think that is a genuine affection. And now, he has this knowledge. I don't even think he's dealt with the fact that that's his aunt yet.
He's going through levels of denial.
Yeah,
Screwing your aunt is lower than your daddy wasn't your daddy. You got to get down the level.
There, man.
He's getting over there, and then next episode, he's gonna be like, "Shit, I fucked my wife or fucked my aunt."
Exactly. No, but it's interesting because Jon and Dany's relationship has been since season 7 one of the great things to watch because both characters we love to root for and we assume that are on the right side of this conflict, and now there is a clear wedge that's going to have to come between them, and that mixed with all the other political stuff that's happening with Sansa and with Arya and with the rest of the northern families, it's going to be very interesting to see how that plays out to me.
Well, and you asked a couple of times, does Jon really love Daenerys? And I think the answer is yes. And I think the when we finally figured that out was when they were out in front of the waterfall, and she said almost exactly what Ygritte said.
Yep,
we could just stay here forever.
Yes.
And he paused for a moment because he was thinking that's exactly what my first love said. And then she tried to kill me. And I should have listened to her. But, he still goes to Daenerys, and that says that he's getting over his past love and moving on to her. That being said, my big question is, does Daenerys really love Jon, or is he just another boy toy? Because this girl goes for boy toys like they're going out of style.
Here's my theory. Jon's not going to tell her. He's not going to tell her until he dies for her. He sacrificed himself for, and then he lets her know.
Okay, so you think that Jon's sacrifice could spur her on into following an example that he would be proud of?
Right.
That's a good theory. I like that. I can get behind that.
I'd be okay with that, as long as, again, she doesn't wind up her ass on the throne. But yeah, I agree with that.
Right.
Let's go back to Dragonstone, fly some dragons.
By the way, I am waiting for somebody to throw it up on YouTube, and probably in the time we've been talking about this, they've done it. If not, Jeremy, you should do it to get us some hits. Is take that scene of them flying to a whole new world.
I know what I'm doing the rest of the night.
Get that done.
Well, the only other things we didn't talk about was, of course, the White Walker. The only glimpse of the White Walkers we get, which was the young Umber is sent to go and get his men from
poor 12-year-old
the castle.
Last Hearth,
which turned into a hearth.
Yes, exactly. And of course, the Night's Watch guys and the Castle Black guys meet up with Tormund and Beric and the Eastwatch guys, and they're all there, and they find the young Umber sorted, I guess, pinned to a wall in the middle of a bunch of severed limbs that make out the spiral sort of graphic is what I call it. That was, if I remember right, on the tree on the very first episode.
It was the tree and the runes, and
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's going back to he's one of the first men.
Yeah, exactly. And I gotta say, the reveal of the kid to be one of the walkers was. I
was like,
really
Tormund's gone.
done, I thought.
I was like, no, not Tormund.
I knew Tormund was alive though, because I did the Marvel comic book thing. If there ain't no body, he ain't dead.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so
Exactly. But well, I mean, I just got to give whoever directed this episode and whoever the cameraman was, that shot was excellent.
Well, it was
I was
also
waiting
it was
for it.
It took me
it
a
was
second to notice it.
it was also ballsy too, because usually when you have a dark scene like that, there's always some fake lighting so you can see the
Yeah.
actors.
Mm-hmm.
But I have my screen set rather dark anyway, but you couldn't see shit.
No,
And that was smart.
we had our lights on. I had to turn it off just for that last scene.
Yeah, that's exactly what I did too. I turned all of our lights off. But that was, but again, like I kind of like that, we have this episode of reunions and some scheming and all that stuff, but there's not really a lot of danger in the episode until right
not
then.
at all.
And it was kind of a great way to let us remember, hey, actually there's some death shit coming our way.
And this is also a way to make the Night King something a little bit more too, because up until this point, the Night King has kind of been a force of nature.
Yeah.
He's got strategy involved. Obviously, he wipes out most of the the real Northern army and all that good stuff. But this is the first time he's actually just playing with people. He's leaving behind calling cards. He knew they were going to light that kid on fire because that's how the symbol got lit. He had set up that way. So this guy is not just a plot device. He has his own intentions. We just haven't learned what those intentions are yet.
Yeah, absolutely. Really, really great point there, Scott. So let's leave it there for this episode and look ahead just briefly to what we saw in the previews. Obviously, there's some more political intrigue. There's some more consternation between these Northern alliances. Jaime Lannister has shown up in Winterfell. We assume there's going to be some kind of mock trial there for him. And then, of course, I mean, the way I read this, guys, I think that next week is the Battle of Winterfell. And
I believe so, too.
Going there. And so I think we're getting a quick, like maybe 15, 20 minutes of this stuff, and then we are off to battle.
Yeah, and my question is this going to be one of two battles, or I mean, not battles, but one of two wars? Are we going to have the Winter War, or whatever you want to call it, and then the War for King's Landing, or does it all kind of mingle into one? Because for the longest time, I've been thinking they wipe out the White Walkers and then we settle everything. We settle scores, which is what they were talking about in season 7.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're going to be settling scores. I think this is going to be the story between the humans and the walkers, and that's the end of the story.
Yeah, it would be poetic because, I mean, what Yara said on the ship really kind of struck me as something, which she said, like we should go back, take the Iron Islands, because Daenerys and Jon are going to need somewhere to fall back to if they get their ass handed to them by the walkers. And so I started thinking to myself in my head, what if they do that? What if we have this epic battle at Winterfell, the Whites overtake them, and then Cersei really does have to deal with this reality that monsters are here, and you can't be playing the Game of Thrones anymore because you're playing the game of survival.
Yeah.
Well, and I think that's when she turns into the Mad Queen and Jaime has to do his thing. Because I still think Jaime's the one to offer.
I believe so, too.
I would think so. And
another reason why I think that this is all going to mingle at King's Landing at the end of the day is because we still need the Cleganes to go at each other. And this series will be a failure to me if those two guys don't go at each other.
Bring on Clegane both.
Yeah, well, especially after the War Council, the one thing the Hound said to him, like, you're not, you know who's coming for you.
You know who's coming.
Yeah. So, and one little thing to remember, people, Benioff and Weiss said that the Battle of Winterfell was shot and get done with the same level of production and time as the Lord of the Rings Battle of Helm's Deep. So if that's the template we're looking at, that's going to be one hell of a fight.
I honestly think. Sorry, Scott. I honestly think that they're going to start the battle next week, and it's going to go into the following week.
That's what I was going to say too. I mean, I don't think this is like a Battle of the Bastards where it's one episode and done. I think we're going to have after I've just kind of thought it out of my head. We've got 5 episodes left. Episode 2 and 3 is Winterfell. 4 is oh shit, we're screwed, and then 5 and 6 is let's figure this out and be done.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can see that. So either way, it looks like we're gonna finally start getting into some death. Of course, I was gonna update everyone on the Pop Culture Draft Night Deadpool rankings, and they're 0 right now because nobody died.
Nobody died.
Unless
nobody had Umber.
Nobody took the younger Umber. So.
Damn it! I should have took the 12-year-old. Damn it! I love the poor kid when he pops his head out. Lord Umber. He's like, hello.
Hello.
Exactly.
I just left preschool
today.
I could use some wagons.
Yeah, that poor kid. Anyway, folks, that's going to do it for this episode. So we will be back again next week, same time. You can find us live on YouTube if you want the immediate reaction. Of course, these will always drop on Monday in the Front Row feed. If you want to subscribe to us, find the Front Row Network on iTunes or any podcast platform. If you want to find us online, frnpod.com, Front Row Network on Instagram and Facebook, or Front Row Reviews with a Z on Twitter. Yes. All over the place.
I'm now confused on the social media. It's okay.
Well, and just to say for the rest of the month, we've got a ton of stuff obviously coming this month. Avengers Endgame is coming upon us quickly. We will, of course, be doing a Get Hyped for that, which will encompass also the Front Row's brand new definitive MCU rankings. And then, of course, we will be doing as much wall-to-wall coverage of, Avengers Endgame as possible. And we will also have our reports from Comic-Con St. Louis coming out pretty soon as well.
Just this
you guys
once.
Want to mention?
For Endgame, just this once, everybody lives.
Everybody lives. He wants that. You want that Eccleston ending, man.
Everybody lives.
Ryan, you got anything before we head out?
No, nothing really.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, there you go. All right. So once again, find us here at the same time, same place next week. But for the Row Knows Nothing in the Front Row Network, I'm Jeremy Geckner.
I'm Ryan Lutens.
And if anyone wants to be my graduate assistant so I can finish my dissertation and be on more of these shows, you can find me at no.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, seriously, somebody go and get him. And of course, we will see you in the front row.
Adios.
Great job, guys.